So Florida State plays Florida on Saturday, which is tomorrow, and I will be heading to the game. But before all that happens, let's see kind of where we stand with the football side of things. So AB, how do you feel about this Florida team? Let's start with their offense.
I mean, they're a shell of what they were last year, talent wise. They
Really,
still got some, they still got some talent. I mean, I know everybody talks about the Richardson kid. I think Emory Jones isn't half bad. I mean, I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's a horrible quarterback. I'm not
no,
sure he
I
gets
agree.
put in. I'm not sure he gets put into a ton of great position situations. Their offensive line's pretty sub to me. I mean, I don't think they're. I don't. They're not. I mean, they're not going to be the best offensive line Florida State's played this year, but they won't be the worst. I don't think they're as good as BC's O line just from watching them. They're trying to work in the Braun kid who Florida State had recruited, and Richie Leonard who Florida State also recruited. They just kind of they kind of play a little soft at times. Not the greatest footwork. They kind of get turned. Play more with their upper body than the low body. Of course, now they don't have an offensive line coach, so not sure what's going on in that position group. Who's leading them, but yeah, I mean, we see teams getting a lot of pressure on them. Now it's weird though because they don't give up a ton of sacks. Now some of that's because of screen game, some of that's because of the run game. You're playing the
Yeah.
run. Some of that's because you're playing a mobile quarterback. So they don't give up a ton of sacks, but they do. I do find that I have found recently they've been giving up a little more pressure. Now again, how much of that is because they don't have um, an offensive line coach maybe leading that room, uh, and I don't know. I find that their receivers don't necessarily get open very well down the field. The Copeland kid's not bad, but the other guys I don't see as real big threats down the field. That is, so might help their non-sack numbers because they're getting the ball out a little bit quicker,
Yeah.
but also why they give up some pressure because look at the shot on that beauty of a scout. Yeah, baby, I love it.
Yeah.
But also why they give up some pressure because they are having to hold the ball a little bit longer. What do you think, Kev? What's your take on their offense?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they adjust without Mullen. I imagine we see a lot of the same looks, so I'm going to talk about them as if they're still being coordinated by Mullen as the primary offensive guy. I want to talk about a little bit of their X's and O's. You mentioned it a second ago. They love the screen game, and a lot of their passing game is actually built off the screen game in a very unique way. So that's kind of the first thing let's dive into here for a second. So, the screen game, it's the traditional kind of they're going to have a lot of these sets with one tight end. Like you'll see a lot of schools nowadays, they hit these screens. They're going to get you moving, especially against Florida State, who you'll see kind of. Um, Florida State likes to do this thing. Well, they like to play cover four, so this corner might be back, and you might see that Florida's going to try to hit that screen. But something interesting they do is they like to like vary off of this screen game a lot. So if they get you coming up, what they're going to do is they're going to then take their shots. So they'll do one thing I saw that was interesting was traditionally a very common air raid play or really spread offense play is this cross. Uh, when I was in air raid, it was just called cross, and it looked like this. So Florida, one of the things that makes Mullen the renowned play caller that he is, and the renowned offensive mind that he is he took something that looked like this, and instead of having these guys do just a regular slot out on this side of the field, he would have like a screen fade here. So you're still getting that crosser, still getting that same read here with the 1, 2, 3, but with a different twist because now you're getting this corner to bite even harder because he's been seeing this screen over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I do have a video of that. So let's see. Fake screen. What did I call this? um, I lost it here.
Oh,
Oh, here it is. So against LSU, you see already you see this fake screen here to this wheel. He's going to pretend like he's blocking with a wheel, and then you see this crosser come across the field. Look how like devoted this guy is to this whole screen. It's going to really mean that this linebacker now has to take this wide receiver out one-on-one in space, and that's just a free, easy completion. It's just one of those things that Mullen draws things up like this all the time. It's one of the reasons that he's so renowned in that department, and those are still part of the playbook, I would imagine, going into this game. So
Now, I've seen less of that in the last couple weeks. Earlier in the season, they were faking the jump pass to a dragger. I mean, Mullins he's really good. He's a really good offensive coach,
yeah, he is.
offensive coordinator, schemer off the run game, which is obviously their bread and butter. They're going to be the run game. I mean, that's what they're gonna look to establish. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen less of some of that stuff and more drop back or play action, and trying to get the ball to Copeland or to Gamble. I think it's Gamble. I think it's the last name, but Copeland seems to be their go-to guy that they want to get the football to. Or like I said, I mean, something in the middle of the field off of their run action, they like to try to get to. Perry had a good question. Can you dive into how design quarterback runs might affect defense? Fuller said on Monday that the big difference between what FSU has faced in rushing quarterbacks and UF is that UF designs them. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think talking about the run game, that's where it kind of has to start and stop with Florida, because that's what they want to be. I mean, they want to be a running football team. You have to kind of believe that with Greg Knox, their running back coach, as the interim head coach for this game, that the running game is especially going to be something that they want to kind of lean on, and maybe even more so the running back portion of the run game. But let's talk about quarterback design runs, Kev. I mean, we obviously have seen it from the Florida State side of what that is and how teams have to try to account for that. Here you go. Here's a little quarterback power. He cuts it out the back door. This is Anthony Richardson. This is who we think is going to play based on some of the intel out of Gainesville.
So it's designed to go this way, but he sees this cutback.
Yeah, this is an A gap. This is an A B gap play, depending on where the defensive tackle's aligned, and he cuts this thing all the way back because they overrun it, and it had some unbalance, so he was able to just kind of see the numbers and get away from it.
It's a good read here.
Yeah. So I mean, the biggest difference is they're playing true 11 on 11 football the whole game, whereas we're like Sam Howell, Jerkovich last week. Those guys were reactionary plays. So off the design of the passing game, they take off. Every once in a while, there was a design run in there. But with Florida, you have to account for Richardson or Jones or whoever. You have to account for them every single time the ball snapped. Whereas with – go ahead.
And what revolves around this conversation, what you're probably going to hear a lot is people talking about kind of their base play, which is – it goes back to the Urban Meyer days when he was working under there. It's just the inside zone kind of read option.
Yep. And
so, this is a read. This is fundamentally different from an RPO. There's not necessarily a pass option here. There might be. They'd like to do that triple option just like we kind of do, where you have that third read. But in essence, what the goal is to get this, to read this defensive end, kind of take him out of the game. Just traditionally, we've talked about it 1,000 times. If he crashes down, the quarterback's going to keep it out here. If he stays outside, you're going to see them give the ball. We really haven't seen a ton of read option. You saw it with Jerkovich last week, and what Florida State did was they tried to have this defensive end kind of double team. So what they would, not double team, but do both jobs. He would kind of ride this tackle down. So if you see on this inside zone, you'll see this tackle double teams down on this defensive tackle, right? So he's out of the play. Florida State had him ride down and then trusted the defensive ends to chase the quarterback once he pulled it. I think that's what LSU's trying to do here.
Yeah.
And he's just a step too slow. You can already see that Emory Jones has beat him off the edge here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work quite as well against Florida. Somebody just asked if we anticipate stacking the box. Yeah, I think we see a little more cover 3 this week. potentially. Looking to really pressure, looking to really try and stop the run game. Really make it a big point of emphasis. Maybe putting Jamie Robinson down in the box a little bit more. I mean, we're going to see. Obviously, we've heard some things from practice. Our boy Tommy's been out of practice on Tuesday and Wednesday, has kind of given us some intel of what was going on. We don't want to give a lot of that away. You never know. Maybe Greg Knox is up in the triple option tonight watching, trying to get some intel. But
Please.
that'd be great. Yeah, hey, I'd love that. Come pick our brains. So anyway, I mean, yeah, I do expect that they're going to give some different looks to try to stop this run game. They know they've got to respect the quarterback a little bit more. I think the level of athlete that you're going to see this week, by way of being able to break explosive runs at the quarterback position, is a little bit more than what you saw out of Jerkovich, where you could kind of two-way play that with the end. I don't think that's going to work quite as well this week. So they're going to have to obviously flip roles with the Kev's talked a lot about the flipping responsibilities with the ends and the backers. We're going to have to see some of that. I think this would be a good week to bring a lot of pressure. I would want to see these wide receivers go beat you. The shorter kid from Penn State, I mean, he can get down the field, but he really struggles catching the ball. He's not a great receiver of the football. He doesn't catch it that well. Copeland's good, but I don't think he's anything to write home about personally. I don't see any of their other receivers really being anything special. The Henderson kid, but they don't play him a ton from what I've seen.
So one thing that I think is kind of interesting, and Coach Nico brought this up in our Discord, and I kind of agree with him, is that Florida likes going to this wheel route. So I'll kind of show you an example of what that looks like. So here you see Anthony Richardson in the game against LSU. They're going back to that quarterback counter look, right? You got the pulling guard. The quarterback's going to suck up these linebackers.
Yep.
And it allows them to isolate this running back in space. So they just do clever things to try to get one-on-ones with their running backs in space. And that's kind of been a little bit of kryptonite for Florida State's defense. So if they do find success, I do think some of it is going to be in that running back passing game that you saw Miami take so much advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen traditional wheel routes out of them too. I mean, I was just watching the Alabama game again, and they wheeled the back a few times off of mesh and off of some different air raid concepts that Mullen would throw in there. I just, you don't know how much of that is Dan Mullen, how much of that is his offensive staff. I mean, they're down two guys on the offensive staff right now. That's pretty big, in my opinion. You're asking a lot of your support staff and some of your other offensive staff to try to step in and really set a game plan, and you're losing your main focus of that room there. I think that's difficult. I think that's a lot to try and overcome. We'll see how they do. I don't worry about their offense in this game. Last year, I would have obviously worried big time about their offense and then putting up a ton of points. I think that you can get stops in this football game. I don't think their offensive line's so great. I think our defensive line is a clear advantage over their offensive line, assuming their health. I think Keir and Jermaine are going to get pressure and make Jones or Richardson move around, which is not what they're great at. I mean, they're not great moving around in the pocket and then trying to throw the football. The key is going to be keeping them in that pocket, getting enough interior pressure that they can't step up and take off, which, look, I mean, let's be honest, Jerkovich kind of killed them last week with some of those reactionary runs off of pressure. That's when they found themselves in that second half getting into some trouble, and then he was able to hit some dime throws, which, again, I don't think these are two quarterbacks that can make dime throws on you down the field.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not their strength. So, yeah, you're going to have eye discipline. I'm sure I'm not sure. I'm positive they spent quite a bit of time getting ready for this football game. This team's going to be very prepared, very motivated. So, yeah, their offense, I mean, I'm sure they're going to get some points. It is what it is, because Florida State's defense isn't elite yet, but it's getting better, obviously, day by day. Their defense is going to be where it's at and where this game's going to make or break Florida State's offense versus uh, Florida's defense. So
Yeah, I just showed that clip of Richardson. I think that in general they've
yeah,
been helped out with really stellar play calling. Easy pass. If you watch their film, you'll just see easy completion after easy completion.
yeah,
A lot of the run game sets that up, kind of like what you've seen out of Jordan Travis, where they use these formations and different stuff to kind of leverage safeties, leverage run game, and open up easy completions in the passing game. And they've found some success doing that. They don't have the one-on-one athletes to beat you necessarily like they did last year. And I don't think these quarterbacks are well suited for that, but they are true dual threats, both of them. And yeah, what you were saying, if you can keep them in the pocket and make them throw the ball downfield and get a little pressure in their face, I think, especially Anthony Richardson, AR-15,
yeah,
you'll see him called. I think he's a little prone to mistakes. He's still making those freshman errors, and if you can get a few turnovers here,
yeah,
I mean that's huge. That's always huge in a football game.
absolutely.
I think you'll see. Someone asked about comparing us to LSU's defense. I think LSU has probably more talent than we do on our defense, but I think our defense is a little bit better coordinated
Yeah,
than what they have over there.
yeah.
So
Especially that second level.
you're gonna see less busts. You're gonna see less of those easy big plays. You might still see a few. FSU's been known to give one or two up a game, but yeah, I would be really shocked to see just complete bust. I would expect that they're going to be asked to earn it, and if they're going to beat you, they're going to have to beat you really just chunking the ball down with their quarterbacks. So I would
Yeah,
expect Fuller. It shuts down any sort of run game as a first
yeah.
priority.
I mean, this is an area where we have seen this defense get much better, especially the second level. Deloach and Lundy have been a lot better in the run game. Their Fitz Gainer's been playing better in the run game. I'm curious to see what personnel they come out with. Do they stick with this 4-2-5? Do they try to put another backer in the box and go with more of a 4-3 look? I would assume probably the 4-2-5.
Yeah, I don't think you want as
Um,
many linebackers on the field as possible,
no, yeah, we'll
especially.
see. Richardson has a tendency to give the ball away, which is important because you need to make turnovers or create turnovers. This is a game where I just think you throw the kitchen sink at their offense and really just bring the house. Make sure you're shored up with their screen game and know where guys need to be in the screen game stuff because it is going to come. But especially with Richardson in there, I just think you got to bring the heat at him. Bring it early, bring it often, get in his face, get him moving around because he just has a tendency to want to give the ball away because he doesn't know where to go with it when there's pressure. I think you can beat this offensive line. I think you could play 6 on 6 in the run game and be okay. You got to make sure you got that quarterback accounted for. But yeah, this is the game to me where I'd be bringing a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I would agree with you here. I think that yeah, bring pressure, force them to throw the ball, have your safeties cheating in that. So I've talked about this before, but I'll go back to it. Because Florida State lives out of cover four.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, that's not what I want to do. Because Florida State lives out of cover four, that it's very important that these safeties, and I'll talk about this more because it really plays into my evaluation of Florida's defense. These safeties are important alley players. They're important in the run game, but they're also deep thirds players. But more often than not, what Fuller's going to have them do, and they've done a really good job about this against teams that love to throw these little glance routes, these little slants. You need these guys to come up and help take these away, and I think that I've seen them improve each week in that, and by having these safeties be so aggressive in their alignment and their and take away these, I mean, you
Yeah.
might get one or two busts down the field, which we've seen. Brownlee gets beat one-on-one at Boston College, and there was one or two busts at NC State, but you take away these easy completions, you make life harder, and having them closer up here makes it easier for them to fill in the alley when,
Yeah.
if this is what happens, you're going to see this. You need this free safety to come up here and make this tackle on the quarterback. And so
Yep.
I think that's going to be a huge priority. It's something you've seen Florida State improve on week to week, and so it'll be really I think Florida State's pretty well suited to take away the strengths of the Florida offense. You've got guys on the edge, Brownlee, Jamie Robinson, that are good tacklers that you need to kind of combat this screen game, and hopefully that's a winning formula for Florida State.
Yeah, somebody said, Go Knowles said similar to the Notre Dame game plan, sell out to stop the run and force them to beat us in the air. Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, that game, Jack Cohn had the game of a lifetime and made some ridiculously good throws, and some guys made some big time catches down the field. I just I don't trust Florida's quarterbacks to be able to fit the ball into tight windows quite as well as we've seen Jerkovich do. I mean, a couple of those balls down the field against Brownlee were just dimes. I mean, not many quarterbacks make those throws. So, yeah, dare these teams to do that and say, hey, if you beat us, tip the cap, whatever. We got to score points too. But, yeah, I think you've got to really just – I mean, if you can play with 10 in the box, play with 10 in the box. Make them find a way to throw the football against you. All right, you want to talk about Florida's defense some?
Yeah, let's talk about Florida's defense. This is the fun part as an FSU.
Because who the hell knows what it is? I mean,
it's pretty. So go ahead and give your opinion, because I've got a pretty long diatribe I want to go on the chalkboard.
Diatribe it up, man. Diatribe it up. People want to hear People want to hear that.
All right, so let's just give a basic football 101 lesson here. If we're sitting here in some sort of spread formation, the problem with this spread formation is that like, let's say we're running a read option. So I've got blockers for each of your guys. Let's simplify things. Move him out here, and then this end can only get either the quarterback or the running back. So let's say he's got the running back. That means that when you have these 6 people in the box against 5 offensive linemen, you're still down a person, right?
Yep.
I've got a +1 is what it's called in the box. So that means you have a few options. Your first option, and what a lot of teams went to back in the day, and you'll still see it happen, is they'll roll one of these safeties down and kind of bump these guys over consequently, and they'll roll to a lot of single high safety coverages, right? So this gets this safety in the box. You got an extra man down here involved in the running game to help out. So that's kind of what it's called. Like, the old adage is, when you see one high safety, you throw the ball. So that's kind of where the match man came in with the Rip Liz that Belichick and Saban made, where people were getting gashed down these seams because there's only one high safety. But that's not really important. So the other option really is to have, I'm going to move this safety over here, is to have this, to play some sort of too high coverage, but really involve one of these safeties in the running game as what are called alley players, or these outside contain force players. So this is what you see a lot of people going to. This is why you hear like cover four, or match or split field coverages, right?
Yeah.
You see this more and more in the NFL, where people are going away from those single high shells, like you saw from the single high was the Seahawks back in the day. You know, the Legion of Boom.
3. Yep. Camp Chancellor.
Now you see a lot more of these two high shells. There's actually a clip the other day of Tom Brady handing the ball off or doing a play action to Fournette, and he said cover 2 to Fournette. So that was kind of cool. But you see a lot more of this cover 2, cover 4 type look with these 2 safeties, and these guys have to be involved in the running game, like I said earlier. However, what Florida does, and it's really interesting because it's not a good idea, is they play these safeties really far back, almost implying some sort of cover 2 shell a lot of times, which means that you have a true 6-man box and you're down 1 in the run game. You're down 1 in the box. So an example of what I mean by that, I'm going to show you.
Well, Grantham was always a huge blitz like crazy, send everybody in the box at the offense, and just don't give up the big play. And that's why he played those safeties so deep.
Right. He's hoping that these 6 men, right? So you see the 6-man box here. This corner's kind
Yeah,
of in the box, but not really. Yeah, Grantham's always said, I hope that I can win one of these matchups by being aggressive here.
and that's why they got such that's why they like to play with such so much size at that end position. That's why you see Gervin Dexter out there, the Carter kid, Brenton Cox. I mean, these are bigger, thicker defensive ends because they want to say that they can set the edge, force everything back inside of their D tackles, their linebackers, and clean it all up. And they're going to play too high behind them, real deep, and not give up any deep shots off of play action. Problem is they haven't been quite as good at linebacker this year, and it's been killing them.
Yep. So this is one of the two safeties. The other one's not even in frame.
And that's insanity anymore. I mean, you
Yeah,
never see that.
You can't do this with a too high look. You just can't. And look, immediately that guy leaves frame, right? So both you're handing the ball off. Both of your safeties are at least 15 yards downfield. That means that Missouri's got a +1 in the box, and you have no help. Because these guys have have pass priority, and these linebackers have no help on either side.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand it. He's really has to trust these guys, right?
Yeah.
He has to say one of these guys has to win, and what happens is when one of them doesn't.
Yeah, they get gashed.
Sorry, it went all.
And I think people looked at last week's performance against Missouri and said, "Oh, Florida's defense figured it out. They played great after giving up a boatload of points against Samford." And Samford's running some of that triple option stuff. Look, that's hard to prepare for.
Yeah, and they threw the ball. They threw it really well.
They did. They did. And a lot of people took offense to Mullen's comments about they made some NFL type plays and stuff like that. There was a lot of reality to some of the stuff he was saying. I don't think he should have said it. He's made himself sound like an idiot, but it is what it is. He was pretty good at that. They're susceptible, in my opinion, in the middle of the field. Passing game, is that a strength for Florida State? I don't know. Jordan's gotten better at it. They've gotten better at using the tight ends in that area. I saw Missouri throw a couple dig routes off these linebackers and these safeties that are just so stinking deep that's not funny. I think that part of the passing game's there. We can sit here and draw all these things up and these deep safeties and all this stuff. I don't know if Darius Washington's healthy. I don't know if Maurice Smith can really play very much right now. I know Gibbons, DLT, Bavion are all banged up to hell. Can you block them? I don't know if you can block them. It's a real concern for me.
If those 6 men can win that matchup, like we were just saying, that they're planning on doing, then their defense is going to be fine.
Yeah. If we can block, we're going to be all right. If we can't, but here's the crazy part about Cox and Carter, though. I talked about them being bigger, thicker type defensive ends. They're not explosive pass rushers. And in my opinion, those are the guys that have given Florida State's tackles the bigger issues, is being real twitchy, speed rush up the field, get by you, bend that corner, and win type pass rushers. I don't see that from these guys. So can we anchor and allow Jordan to get to kind of move around in the pocket? It's going to be curious to me. They've been playing that number 28 Trailer or Taylor or something like that at linebacker. They played him against Missouri. He looks like he can run. I think he's a pretty good linebacker for them that they hadn't played a lot, but they seem to be getting in there now. We're going to see. I mean, I don't think that their defensive performance is as good as what people thought it was against Missouri. I thought Missouri was really hamstrung by their quarterback who was injured. I thought they left some plays out there with that kid. I know. Look, I think that this is a game they're going to want to run a lot of man coverage underneath. I mean, I think you're going to spread them out with a ton of trips. Yep. Maybe work some of that triple option game out on the edges. Hit some of your fake screens and then throw the ball down the field. Some of those seam routes that we've seen. And then we keep talking about the run game. It hasn't been there because these guys just aren't very healthy. So I don't want to sit here and talk about the run game like it's going to be something we can rely on, because I don't think we can. I mean, the counter game is going to be there, hopefully. But we're going to see. I mean, Jordan, if there's a game that you're going to run Jordan, this has got to be it. I mean, you got to run him, especially if they run a ton of man. You've got to run him 10 times at least to design. And I don't mean that reactionary off the passing game. I mean, you got to go and just design to run him with the football and try to get him going. I think the toss, that toss read that we've seen more recently is going to be there for them, especially if they keep those safeties back. Yeah, roll in the pocket. I see Josh Martin talking about roll in the pocket here in the chat. Yeah, I think roll in the pocket. You're gonna have to move. You're gonna have to move this thing around a little bit.
Attack
But
the edges. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You
I
threw
mean,
the ball 34 times last week with Jordan. I don't see any reason to not do it again. I know that's not what you want to be right with him at quarterback, but I think you're going to have to be to some extent.
if you're going to play your safeties this narrow and this deep, yeah, I would run outside. You can see they're kind of in this really trendy defensive line alignment called tight front here. And so, I mean, that's just asking for you to get countered. Like I don't know what this is.
They're not running as much of that stuff. I mean,
I doubt they will.
They base out of that 4-2 look inside.
But what I really want to see is if Florida's going to win this game, this is what I was talking about. So this safety does a good job. He triggers when he sees run coming his way, and this is his gap, right? This linebacker is going to take on this pulling tight end. If he can make this tackle, Florida State's going to have trouble getting the run game going. If he does not make this tackle, then you see this happen. It's 3 yards versus 10 yards.
They're not a great tackling team. They haven't been all year. I don't see any reason for that to change. I don't care if they're motivated or not. I don't see some reason that they're going to all of a sudden tackle a lot better.
But if any one of those blocks along the front doesn't happen, then it doesn't matter, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened against Boston College is you were missing those blocks. You weren't able to make those pins. It didn't matter how slow their linebackers were. You just were not getting the running game going.
Yeah. My man Dupree Hundo, my Dupree $100 bill says thinks we're sleeping on the impact of Jermaine and Keir Thomas, and not sure what the hell he's talking about, but they're. If you were here for the defensive portion, I mean, we said that they're gonna do their thing.
You got to hope that you can have one of them shut down if you can have both of those guys shut down the read option.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm not sure. Look, I think they're going to play game. They're going to play very well. Those two are going to play very well. They're going to do what they do. Yeah, I think you might be right, Josh. They're going to do what they do and have their success. But when you're faced with a running quarterback, you're forced to play differently as a pass rusher. It's not just get up the field all the time. So you've got to you've got to change your game a little bit. Your rush angles change a little bit. Your rushing game changes a little bit. You're forced to think run first, not necessarily pass first all the time. That stuff slows your pass rush down a little bit. And why I don't know that they're going to put up as big as sack numbers. But I mean, they're going to get theirs. I mean, those two have been unblockable by much better offenses of late, really all season than Florida. So I have no reason to think that they're not going to play a pretty big part in this football game. But similar offensive plan to Miami. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a similar offensive plan to Boston College, really, because I don't know if you're trusting going into the game. I don't know if you trust your front to block them. The Carter's really good. Their front's better than Miami's was, and we struggled to block Miami at times. We found some runs, and I'm sure we're going to spring some stuff on Florida that they're not used to. That's what Mike Norvell and Kenny and Alex Atkins and the offensive staff do. I mean, they find weaknesses. Here's the tough part. You don't have a lot of film on Christian Robinson as a defensive coordinator. You had a ton of film on Todd Grantham from years and years and years and years ago, and they go that far back. Trying to find film on what Christian Robinson does and what his tendencies are is difficult, and it's going to be tough to devise those game plan specific run plays, pass plays against him, just because you don't know all of his tendencies yet. So we'll see. I think the adaptations are going to take place. Nice thing to read the BC plan is see how well we play when the ACC refs are not sabotaging us. Yeah.
Yeah, for me on offense, it'll just be interesting to see because if they're gonna continue to do what they've done these past couple of weeks, which is similar to what Grantham did. They've just kind of simplified it, kind of gone more vanilla. If they're going to keep those safeties deep, you have to be able to run the football. If they're able to keep you from running the football, this offense isn't going to move the ball. Like with those safeties deep. If they're able to keep two deep safeties, then it's kind of like one of the situations where Notre Dame a couple years ago just ground Florida State down with just 3 down linemen because we couldn't block them.
Yeah.
But I think you'll get something going in the running game. You've blocked better defensive lines. But I don't think you're going to just put up 100 points on them.
No, you're not going to maul them. They're going to play okay. I mean, I kind of have that. I kind of have Florida State in the 20-ish point area, 20 to 30 points. I mean, I think it's going to be a grind. I mean, I think you're going to go have stretches this football game where if you don't get out on them early and they quit, then I think you're going to find yourself in a dogfight through stretches of this football game where you're going to struggle to move the football consistently. One thing that Florida State's going to have an advantage of is their punter against Florida's punter. Florida's punter is pretty bad on
winning the special teams.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. So I think your punter's better than them. Field position might become a factor. We'll see. Again, who knows what kind of fourth down math Greg Knox has. Dan Mullins has not been great. His decision making has not been great of late, to say the least. So who knows what their decisions are going to be when the game's fourth and short and those kinds of things, kicking, not kicking, all the stuff that really kind of matters that people don't talk about enough.
People do not give enough. I saw a tweet from someone the other day. I forget who it was. It might have been the Match Quarters guy, but he said that people do not give enough credence to field position and special teams and how that affects defensive performance. And it's true. Like if your defense is constantly on the 50, you're just asking them to give up touchdowns.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to talk about, someone asked about Fuller running cover 6. And I actually, that almost feels like a softball question to me because I had this specifically prepared because I thought it was really cool. So I'm going to go back to that LSU game. So LSU here is, okay, first thing I want to point out is the formation that we've always kind of associated with being Norvell's formation, which is this nub tight end with trips on one side. You see Mullen run a fair amount. So really, outside of those two coaches, you don't see this run a lot. I think you'll see more and more of it run because it forces this corner to be part of the run fit usually. And he's usually one of your worst tacklers. So Florida's in that nub formation, but that allows us to see how their LSU's lining up to trips. So a big thing about the spread offense when it became popular was how are you going to defend this unbalanced trips, right? It presents a million problems for the defense, right? So LSU's looks like they're in what's called stump, which is a variation of cover 4. So I'm defining this as a split field coverage, so just looking at these 4 guys here. So they're in what's called stump. This guy is taking either 2 or... So this corner's taking either 2 or 1 deep. So he's basically taking this deep third, right? The first guy inside that's deep between those 2, he's going to take. This guy's got basically the flats, and he's going to post here, and he's got kind of here. So it's a pretty traditional looking cover 4. The reason why I care about this is because it's very, very similar to what Fuller bases out of. So Fuller bases out of stress, which is the only difference is this guy's going to be inside leverage on number 2 here. But in essence, they're playing this exactly how Florida State will play trips more often than not. So all that's to say is I saw this and I thought it was illustrative because this is kind of what you'll probably expect Florida to try to attack them with. So you see This linebacker is posting this number 3 receiver, which means that he's going to get depth and get underneath him, leaving man on this Sam. So let's go back here. So basically what's happening here is he's running this linebacker off, leaving man coverage on the Sam. So then you get an in route, and he's just picking on the man coverage that he gets from this kind of cover 4. So you'll probably see that. Oh, actually they went to the post, which wasn't probably not the right read here, but that's kind of what you'll expect from Florida here. Alternatively, you might see them, because FSU likes to inside leverage here, you've seen a lot of teams take this out route. So that might be a big difference here. Florida might hit this out route over and over and over and move the ball like that. You've seen several teams try to do that. That was kind of NC State's game plan, just hit this over and over, take the 3 yards and move on. So that's the cover 6 that FSU plays, because you can play cover 2 or cover 4 on the other side of this formation. It's technically called cover 7 because you have 7 people in coverage, but that's not that important. But yeah, so a little bit of what you might expect from FSU's coverage and what they're going to give up. They generally are going to be okay giving up those short routes, those short completions. And so
they don't want to give up the deep ball, even though they have given up the deep ball. They've been better against it. All right, you want to do some predictions here, and then we can get to some hit the chat with some questions and then get out of here?
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
All right. I think I went first last time.
So okay.
It is your turn to go first.
I think Florida State wins this. I think they've got the momentum on their side. I think that I don't see Florida getting their stuff together in this week. I think Florida State wins 28-24. I think it's a pretty close game.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think Florida State does win. I think this was a hell of a week for Florida. I'm not even sure how much of the fan base is. I mean, the stadium's sold out. I think there's a decent chance it's going to be 50-50 Florida State, Florida fans there.
I'll be there wearing garnet and gold, middle of the Florida section.
could feel like a home game at times for Florida State. I think this Florida team's looking for a reason to bail. I know that they're going to say a lot of the right things, and they're going to talk a lot of game. And I think if they get up, they'll act like front runners and show you how much they care. But when they get down, I think there's going to be a lot of quit to be had. You're -3 coaches in the game. That feels unprecedented. It's not something I've heard a lot happen, especially, in the regular season. I do think Florida State's going to struggle to block them at times, and that's going to be a problem. We've all looked and seen, we've talked about in our game reviews that if Florida State can't block you, they're going to struggle offensively. But they found a new passing game, and it's kind of weird to say that Jordan Travis is leading you as a passer now. Florida secondary is not bad, but they're not great either, in my opinion. So even though the Elam kid's a top first-round pick, I think Florida State's going to win something like 24-17, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't expect a ton of points in this game because I think the game's going to be sluggish and kind of groggy in the middle of the field between the 20s. D lines are going to have a lot of success in this game. So,
and if you can keep it that way, I think that benefits Florida State.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if it becomes like a shootout, Florida has more weapons offensively than you do.
Yep. I would agree with that.
So unfortunately, you do not want it to be a shootout. You want to slow this game down. You want to have a Missouri game, not a Samford game.
I agree.
If we're looking at Florida's schedule.
I agree. All right, so we're both on the record. Go Noles. We both think they're going to win. All right, so let's. I'm up here a little bit. I found this question to be interesting. If you were Mike Norvell coming into this game, all things considered, this is from Kyle, and you win the coin toss, do you take the ball to go up quick, or do you defer to make a defensive statement? I think you always defer the coin toss.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Yep. Make a choice and then go ahead and hopefully make a mistake. So I've seen it. Teams have said, we're going to kick the football after deferring, and then they kick to you, and then they kick to you again at halftime.
I'm the opposite, but I'm an offensive guy. I would always take the ball, make a statement, but I don't really trust this offense to make that statement. So put your defense on the field. They're the better side for you right now.
So Bug Zapper, how much is the drop off from the first string to the second string D line for the Gators? I think their interior is not great on that second group. Their DNs are pretty good as a whole. They have the Bogle kid who Florida State really wanted a few years ago. Carter, Brenton Cox, we talked about. They've got a slew of guys at end that are pretty good. Any news of Copeland opting out? No, I haven't heard anything about Copeland opting out. I think he said he's done though. I think he said he's not coming back. Let's see what else we got. Was Dan Mullen the secret Hitler? Kev, I don't know anything about this game.
I was 0-2 at Secret Hitler, so I don't think you want to ask me. For some reason, everybody just assumes I'm on the bad guys. So I am not going with my dad. I'm going with my wife, so it's going to be a good time. Let's see. Yeah, give your predictions. We'll point out the most ridiculous ones.
Will there be an instant reaction tomorrow after the game? I don't know. What are we going to do with that, Kev? You've talked about maybe taking your computer. I'm not sure how well the services will be for you outside the stadium.
Yeah,
so I'm not a computer idiot, but I don't know how to do this stuff by myself. So
yeah, I'll be at the game. So I have two options. I haven't decided yet. Either we're going to do it immediately, as quickly as I can. I'll find some place where I can be quiet, either in my car or something, and I'll get on the laptop, or we might just wait till later in the day. Since it will be a noon game. So if we can wait later, it'll be a better quality instant reaction, but it will also
what do you want us to do, Gator Kirk? You tell us what you want us to do. All right, that's what we're going to do. If you were VT, who would you hire? I would throw a lot of money at Mike Loxley, get somebody that can recruit the Hampton Roads area and get you some talent and get you back in those games, because that's where, in my opinion, Virginia Tech's really struggling. They haven't been able to recruit Virginia in a long time. Heck, maybe even go out and throw a lot of money at Dre Bly, or not a lot of money, but give Dre Bly an opportunity to become a head coach, see what he can do. They need to take a risk. Maybe Kendall Briles, go get a big-time offensive coach.
Can he recruit? That's the question.
It's a big question. I don't know. I mean, that was a big question for Mike Norvell. He seems to be proving that he can.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the biggest indicator for success for a head coach, in my opinion, I don't get paid to give my opinions about head coaches though, is how well can they evaluate and hire staff, right? He's just one guy out of a whole staff full of people. He can only do so much.
Yeah.
I think that was the big downfall of Mullen. Great, one of the best offensive minds in college football. Can't hire a good defensive coordinator. So
these guys get screwed with loyalty a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think it's the reason why Jimbo's won one national championship and not more.
Mm-hmm. Tommy was on with us in the preseason, right, Tommy? You were on with us in the preseason?
Yeah, I think that's when he came in.
Yep, we're going to get him back on. Don't you worry about that. Our boy Team Money's always around. What bowl game would Florida State go to? I see people projecting the Gasparilla. I think I'm saying that right. Gasparilla Bowl or the Gator Bowl. I saw somebody pretty reputable said the Gator Bowl against Arkansas today. Look, I don't care. Just get a bowl game. Play Alabama. Play Alabama in a bowl. I don't care. Just be in a bowl game. It'll just be fun to say you're in a bowl game and watch Florida State around Christmas time.
We still have one of the youngest teams in the country, so the practice before a bowl game means infinitely more than the result of the bowl game.
Yep. Credit to 24/7. They said Marcus Banks is coming to visit Alabama transfer D-back. That's, these are big time gets if Florida State could get these guys. And it's just more talent. This program seems to be on the up. Need to keep it up. Obviously, a lot of good stuff seems to be happening and going Mike Norvell's way right now. Hopefully, it can continue.
So I want to address this. Our running backs are superior. We need to run the ball early and often. I wish football was that simple.
Yeah,
when you play Madden, Madden likes to break the game for you if you've got like an all-star player and make it seem that you could just run the ball against anything. This is actually like a really big pet peeve of mine. So if the defense is doing this to you, you could have Barry Sanders here, and you're not going to win the Super Bowl because it doesn't matter how good this guy is. You could hand the ball off 1,000,000 times. It doesn't matter because they have more men in the box than you do. At its simplest form, football is a numbers game.
Yep.
And
Well,
so,
to take it even farther than that, I don't care if you can put the safeties at 80 yards deep. If your E and T and W and M are better than the circle, circle, square, circle, circle, it doesn't matter how good your running back is, because that's what it's boiled down to. The run game recently is your line just hasn't been able to get enough movement up front for various reasons, and that's why your run game struggled. It's why it's struggled for years now. They need to get better. Those O's and circles or circles and squares got to get better.
it's the reason why run the ball more is not often as easy of an answer as we would like it to be.
I'm a running game guy. Run the double dive. Hell, I'm all for it. But if you can't block them, you ain't running nowhere. Run counter. Yeah, they're going to run counter. It's what their base run game is. It's what they got to be right now.
It will come at least 5 times tomorrow, I guarantee you.
What UF yard per play indicates a probable FSU win? Oh shit, I have no idea.
6. I don't know. 5.
4.1. I don't know. I'm not good with it. That's Bud Elliott. He's Mr. Numbers guy. I wish I was as good at the numbers as Bud is.
I wish. Yeah, I mean that's like a really nebulous. Less than Florida State's, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Briley, I'm sorry we can't give you a better answer than that. That's just not. That's not where my headspace is as a coach.
I don't know if
Not on this show anyway.
it's a weird question. No, it's not a bad question. It's just I don't know how to answer that because it's respective. You've won some games where you let up 6 yards per play. You've lost some games where you've let up 4. You know.
We've got a Gator fan in the chat, Chris Smith. You want run on UF?
You
laughing
want
face,
run
laughing
on
face.
UF.
I don't know what the hell that means.
Potentially.
UF wins big tomorrow. UF going to beat the Knowles down. Look at me, laughing, laughing, laughing. 100.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's possible that UF wins big tomorrow. They have more talent on their roster than Florida State currently
there's a
has.
chance.
So if they come out and play like first 4 weeks Florida, then they should win this game by 30 points like people were expecting at the beginning of the season. But unfortunately, they haven't. And so we'll see.
How many trick plays, gadget plays do you guys think UF runs tomorrow? I mean, I'm sure they're going to throw the kitchen sink at this game. I mean, as far as trick plays go, trick plays are only gets you so far. AR-15 is that dude.
I mean, in essence, a trick play is just something you haven't seen before. Mullen is really good at making these plays that are seamlessly integrated into his playbook that are kind of trick plays, but are real plays. So you might call them gimmicks, but they work. So
Harry trying to bring the serious questions in here. What does UF do to win? UF runs the football.
They run the football and they keep us from running the football.
Yeah, I think it's really boils who runs better. I think it's really what it boils down to.
Our offenses are like the Spider-Man meme pointing at himself. You got a quarterback that's all right throwing the ball, really, really good running it, questionable offensive line, not too many weapons on the outside. So
solid defense is not great. They're in the same ballpark with each other.
So, I mean, they're very similar looking teams at this point in the season. So,
yep. I think the biggest thing that people are picking Florida State is because they just seem to be trending upward and they have a coaching staff. I think that's the only reason the line's as close as it is. I think it's at -2.5 or -3, something like that. I think it's just because one has a coaching staff, one doesn't. We'll see. I'm excited for the game. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be one of those nail biters, but
yeah, I don't think FSU is at a point as a football team right now where they can string together a complete 60-minute performance. So you might see them come out and play a stellar half and get a lead and then kind of blow it like these past couple weeks. You might see them just kind of off and on just fiddling with Florida or vice versa, where it's just a scrapyard all game. So in my mind, those are really the two most likely possibilities. Either you outplay them one half and don't outplay them the second half, or you kind of just go back and forth all game and neither team looks particularly good.
I believe the Florida State's going to be prepared for this game. I'll say that much. I don't know if you can say that about Florida. I don't know that you can lock that in and say for sure. Oh, good answer, Briley. 4.5 yards per play and under 300 in my book. I mean, you could tell Mike Norvell's this is one that means something to him. He wants this game. So when Mike's prepared for games, they normally do pretty well. More sacks for JJ or more touchdowns thrown for JT. I'll say sacks for JJ. I don't know.
Touchdown thrown? Yeah, probably. 4.5 yards per play and under 300 in my book, potentially.
Yeah.
I would feel a lot more. I would feel a lot better about this game if you were able to successfully run on Boston College.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, that was a big red flag for what you have on the offensive line. The fact that you aren't able to assert yourself against that defensive line, and so that's the only reason I'm not as gung ho about this game as other people. I mean, people list a lot of the soft factors like Mullen's not there, so they're gonna be better or whatever. Remember how we were with Odell. It is what it is. I'm just worried that Florida State doesn't have the cats up front to win on the ground, and that's not a recipe for success with a team that has a running quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Florida State's D-line, somebody said it earlier, I think Florida State's D-line is better. I think Florida's offensive line is playing better, so I think that offsets things. We'll see.
I mean, I would take Jordan Travis over either one of their quarterbacks, but I would take their wide receiver squad over ours. So,
agreed.
That is where it's at. They should have blown Boston College. Okay, the penalties.
Yeah, I mean, there's some level of truth to it, but no, I mean the penalties didn't give up, perfect deep balls to the wide receiver for number 4. Can't think of his name. Got a brain fart right now. The really special wide receiver for Boston College and Jerkovich throwing absolute dime. So
Sanford. I went back and watched the Sanford game. I actually have a play from that game. Let's see if.
Yeah, Kyle, their offensive line didn't play great against Missouri. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. They were breaking some new guys in.
So if this is what you see from Florida, so Florida's in straight man coverage here.
Flowers, thank you, Josh.
They're not doing anything special. I think they just do a switch route here. And Florida
Bama ran a ton of this too.
Florida just has 2 guys decide that they're on the running back for some reason. I don't know what this guy's doing. It looked like they were in straight man. So if you can get Florida to do some of this where they just forget how to play man coverage, then you'll probably beat them.
And then not tackle. We know they're a bad tackling team.
So, yeah, if Florida pulls this crap against you, then you should win.
Yeah. And there's a chance it happens. I mean, I would love to be able to sit and Damian Pierce be like a bowling ball tomorrow. All right, man.
Okay. Yes.
I love it.
Our run defense is actually pretty decent, so I would be kind of surprised. But, I've been crazier. I've said crazier things, right? I thought we were going to run for a couple hundred yards against Boston College, and we didn't.
Yes, we did.
It's totally possible this guy, old Damian Pierce, bowling balls through our defense.
Look, I mean, their running backs are good. Their run game's good. It's Florida State's run defense has been pretty good all year. We'll see what happens. Y'all saying the UFO line played well against Miz, but their D line ain't as good as ours. Yeah, I don't think you quite understood what I was saying. So, Florida's offensive line is better than Florida State's offensive line.
Yes.
Right now, Florida State's defensive line is better than Florida's defensive line, but not by a very big margin.
Right. I don't think either of those margins are particularly large.
Right, but the fact that Florida's offensive line is a little bit healthier and playing a little bit better right now, I think gives them a little bit of an advantage in the line department.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. Hey, I wish I could predict what Darius Washington's health is. I have a decent idea about whether he's going to be able to play or not. We'll see tomorrow. I know those guards haven't been very healthy, and I know what Maurice Smith's been getting his butt kicked lately, so we'll see.
Yeah, that was a blown play. So I think our questions are slowing down a little bit, and we're reaching the hour mark of this recording. So I think we're gonna call this a day. Probably the consensus is that I'm just gonna get home. We're gonna do the instant reaction a little bit less instantly. So listen to the other people that you listen to, and then if you want a more in-depth X's and O's breakdown, I'll be at the game so I can see all the coverages that you will not be able to see. So based off the the broadcast angles. So come join us. AB, I believe, will be able to join me for the instant tomorrow.
Gonna do my best, absolutely.
And he'll be watching the front. I'll be watching the secondary. So you'll get the most true X's and O's breakdown of the game tomorrow, win or loss. So come join us. That's really the only kind of videos that I can successfully monetize. So join us for the instant reaction. And yeah, if you see me at the game tomorrow, say hi. I'll be there wearing Florida State stuff.
Go Noles, guys.